it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Jabari Vok Podcast. Again, like, share, subscribe. This is going to be another great episode. I have a very, very special guest. You probably have heard of her all over the place. If you haven't, she is incredible out there for the streets and for the people. So I want to bring her on right now. Without further ado, Sabby Sabs, everyone.
Hey, how are you? Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I saw you made a post about Tupac's stepfather dying. Was that yesterday when we heard the news that he passed away?
Yeah, I found out about it yesterday.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I wish that were taught in school about our Black revolutionaries and things that they went through. And like I was talking to a friend through text message earlier today about notice like how many Black revolutionaries are literally in prison doing time and framed. And still the KKK to this day has never been indicted or anything, but they went after our leaders so much. And people wonder why we just have so much going on as a Black people in this country when all our leaders are just taken away from us.
Yeah, and I mean, there have been some people or some, I would say, revolutionary activists that left the United States because they were targeted constantly, right? And don't feel like it's safe to come back here. And
Right.
there have been even like on the politician side, Cynthia McKinney left the U.S., lives in Asia. It's just there's a lot of things that happen to the people who are the truth tellers, the people who are willing to stand up and push back against the establishment, and particularly government agencies like the FBI and the CIA, et cetera.
Right. That's why I definitely agree with Kennedy was when he was talking about getting rid of the CIA. Like that's something that needs to be talked about 24/7 to remind people, because I even noticed even people like liberals basically use the CIA documents to defend their case on certain things, and the FBI documents to defend their case on certain things. But like these entities are corrupt, so they don't really have any legitimacy on anything, in my opinion.
Because no, you're right. You're right about that. I think what exactly do they do? I was just watching a show recently called Fuber on Netflix. It's with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's in the CIA. And there's a lot of CIA propaganda in that show. Like the show is entertaining, but it's a lot of the CIA are the good guys. It's that type of message throughout the show, right? But I think what people have to understand is that a lot of times they overstep their bounds. We saw this with the Twitter files release, right? How they are putting their hands in places that I feel it really shouldn't be. And we have to ask ourselves, like, is it doing more good or is it doing more harm? And that's kind of how I look at it. Same thing with like the FBI. I feel like for them to come after people like Fred Hampton, to come after people like Malcolm X, and we can't continue to say, well, we think this may have happened. We have proof now that it happened because Malcolm X's family is suing them. Right. Because they have that information. So we have to ask ourselves, like, are these agencies doing more harm than good? And from what I've seen, they're doing more harm. So I do agree with RFK Jr. about that sentiment that he has in reference to like the CIA.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. I got a video taken down talking about RFK Jr. On YouTube, which I'm not surprised about. But he definitely, I am worried about him when he talks like this about intelligence agencies and everything. And he's also rising in the polls as well too. He's actually beating DeSantis as well too. When you compare the polls, people thought DeSantis was going to be like this uh, alternative, and to me, he's a fascist alternative, but that's another story. But
Mhm.
RFK is being attacked 24/7 on vaccines, and he's not even running on that platform at all.
Not at all. Not at all. They're just trying to find something to turn the people against him. But I think the big mistake that they have made is that most like working class people actually are not, they don't care about that. They're not focused on that particular issue. They're focused on economic issues. And I think
Right.
that this is where I think the Democratic Party goes wrong. They're not speaking to the needs, the economic needs of the American people at this point in time. They're focusing on particular culture war issues, which again, like most working class people are not thinking about. So I think that if if the Democratic Party loses in 2024, I think this will be the reason why, because they're
Mm.
not focusing on the correct issues.
Do you think that there's no chance that they're going to win, especially now that all of a sudden, like, debating is not going to be a thing and primaries are getting switched up? Like, are there a private company people that wonder why they're able to do all these things? They are able to do it, even though it looks like it's not Democrat at all. But that's just.
Yeah.
Do you think that what's going to happen? Like, Biden's going to lose?
I think if things continue with the way that the polls are right now, I think he will lose. I mean, the fact that Trump has been indicted, uh, he has legal issues, and Trump
Mhm.
actually he increased in the polls after
Yeah.
the indictment. So, and this is what I warn people, that Trump will actually look more like a martyr
Right.
if they come after him while he's running,
Right.
because you have to question the timing. Like I said, it's politically motivated. This is not to say that what Donald Trump did was correct, but why isn't that same strategy being applied to other people who've done similar things like Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton, right? So they
Right.
seem to just get away. And I think that if it continues on the path that it's on right now, I think that Joe Biden will lose.
Mm.
And I can already predict it. They're going to blame people like Marianne. They're going to blame RFK Jr. They're going to blame Dr. West for running and challenging against Joe Biden. And this is why I said before, like, we don't really have a real democracy in this country. They
No.
tell you that we do, what we don't. The
Yeah.
DNC, they pick the candidate, they pick the people that they want, and usually that's who the donors will get behind. And typically, the candidates that have the most money are the ones that win. Now, the exception was Bernie Sanders, and that's because the DNC did not choose him.
Right.
And they would never choose someone like Bernie Sanders. So
Yeah.
I think, you know, people are reaching a breaking point considering the inflation that's going on and the unemployment. They keep talking about the unemployment rate is lower, but I just saw an article the
Yeah.
other day that said not for Black Americans.
Right.
So it's economically they have failed. And so I think that you may see a repeat of what you saw after Barack Obama's second term, where there were people who voted for Barack Obama that turned around and voted for Donald Trump. And
Yeah.
there's been people that have come on the show that said
Right.
that if it comes down between Biden and Trump in the general, this time they're going to vote for Donald Trump. And it's
Wow.
because the economic needs are not being met by the people.
Yeah, yeah. And it's literally that type of abusive relationship that we're constantly in. And there's 47% of undecided voters here in this country. And they're so good at just being dominant that don't even like phase them, the idea of like the Green Party getting Cornel Weston and taking all those votes, but yet they attack him hard. So it seems like it is a threat to them, even though they are fully in control and have this what they call democracy captured. Um, I just don't understand the sentiment, because I'm seeing podcasters all over the place saying, "Don't vote for Cordell West. If you want to win, vote for Biden." It's like, did they all get you all in a room and said, "Okay, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do"? Like, I don't get
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's like the PR message has already, it already went out and it started to circle around all these different liberal outlets. So like The Nation and Jacobin or those DSA type outlets they're all saying the same message. And it's one after another. And that's how they all have the same PR talking point. But I think that people really need to look at the numbers, because the thing is this: when people say that Jill Stein is the reason why Hillary Clinton lost, no, and they forget to mention Gary Johnson, and Gary Johnson ran on the Libertarian ticket, and he got a significant amount of votes as well. So even if you were to give all of Gary Johnson's votes to Donald Trump and you gave all of Jill Stein's votes to Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump still wins. And that's the piece that they leave out. But also it's significant, I think, for people to understand is that the third party voters, if there weren't third party candidates, those people do not show up to vote for the lesser of the two evil of the duopoly. And this is a lie, I think, that the Democratic Party continues to tell people. That's actually not true. People who vote for Gary Johnson, people who vote for Jill Stein, if those candidates were not in the race, those people stay home. So the Democratic Party, and they know that, but they just continue to spread that lie to fearmonger people so that people will stay within the duopoly.
Right. Yeah, they definitely do. I remember not running, but helping out a Peter Gosselin, who's a workers' rights lawyer here in Connecticut. And he ran under the Green Party ticket for Attorney General, which he was opposed by a Republican. I can't think of her name right now, but he was also opposed by William Tong, who is the Democrat. And the race was very, very close. And it was so close to the point that William Tong almost lost. And we were able to get 2,000 votes in that race. And immediately the Democrats were people that supported the Democrats. They came up to me and some of my colleagues when they saw me at the courthouse or something, and was like, yo, you guys are literally taking votes. No, we're giving people that don't trust in the Republican or Democrats a reason to come out and vote. That's what we're doing. That's what I told them. And I always think of that moment because it shows me exactly how captured this democracy is. And I don't know what it's going to take to break out of that, especially when you have people that love the squad and ACO's now nominating Biden of all people. You have Bernie Sanders nominate Biden. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that squad members have chosen to be career politicians at this point. They got a taste of that lifestyle, right? So a congressperson, their very first year, they're making more money than a lot of people would ever make in like 5-10 years in this country. So they're making like a 6-figure salary. They get a lot of perks that go along with being congressman: unlimited sick time, unlimited vacation. Like a lot of people in this country just don't get those perks. And a lot of them didn't get those perks either until they went to DC. Right. So now it's like they look at it as though, well, if I don't go with the flow, then I'm going to lose my seat. And we saw that happen with Dennis Kucinich and Cynthia McKinney. It's true. If you don't go with the flow, then they'll just either put up someone else to primary challenge against you that's going to maintain the status quo, or they can redistrict your district like they did to both of them. That's so crazy. That you don't have one. And you can't come back. So there is no true democracy in this country. But I think that the squad members they've went through a system that was supposed to challenge and push back against the establishment in DC and the Democratic Party. And that is not what is happening. And basically, when you put someone in that situation, they either sell out and keep their job and their perks, or they do what they were supposed to do going in there, and they lose that position. And so I think they realize it's much more comfortable to be here than to not be here in DC. So those people are never going to fight. Like these people, they're far gone. They really are. Yeah. And I think the right thing to do would be like organizations like DSA to push back against squad members. And I don't mean just write a letter and say you're disappointed about of voting
Right.
of voting on certain legislation. But I
Right.
mean, they need to expel them. And I've said this very clear. We have AOC endorsing Joe Biden. We have, Jamal Bowman endorsing Joe Biden,
Yep.
someone who is against Medicare for all. So every single one of those members ran on Medicare for all.
Right.
So the fact that they're endorsing a corporate Democrat who's against Medicare for all, these people are gone. They've been bought into the system. And this is the argument that I always have, why I say Justice Democrats, in my opinion, was a money grab. I don't really feel like it was really going to challenge any type of power. And I feel like there's no accountability when it comes to that organization either. I don't see the people who started Justice Democrats, Kyle Kalinske and Cenk Uygur, calling for Justice Democrats to stop,
Right.
to just fall back and like, look, you guys don't need to do this anymore, because it's embarrassing. It is
Right.
really embarrassing to see progressives just fold and cave every time. But those people are not going to do anything for us. Ilhan Omar said in one of her town meetings that there are independents and third-party people that you can vote for. So that right there lets you know that they don't care.
She said that? Really? Oh my
She did.
God.
She said she had a town hall, and some of the people in the town hall were really upset with her, saying that they don't have the money and why, what's happening. Why is she not doing the things that she said that she would do when she ran for office?
Right.
And so, she got pretty snappy and said, there are independents and third-party candidates that are running. You can vote for them.
And the kind of just like gall that you will have to even say that to your constituents who believe in you, and I definitely see her as someone that I have held to a high regard myself, just knowing her story, coming from Somalia and everything, and just seeing like how they can even get someone that powerful to just fall in line. And I wish that people could see this and see for what it really is. But we're too busy. The working class, like you said, we don't have those days off that we can just get anytime, or sick leave that we get anytime. I mean, they even took that from the rail workers. So it's like, how can we get the working class to focus on this? It's grassroots. I always say grassroots is the most powerful thing you could do, instead of trusting in these politicians. But I see that we're definitely not like how we were in the 60s and 70s. I think we have to like rekindle that type of fire. And
I agree.
It's been captured.
I agree. And I think that part of the problem is they weren't working class to begin with. And actually, Justice Democrats was supposed to be, they were going to try to organize people who were just everyday working class people and get them to run for office and challenge the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, most of those candidates were not working class. And the ones who won also were not working class. They're part of the professional managerial class. So
Right.
even when people point to AOC being a bartender, they leave out the fact that AOC owned a startup. She went to Boston University. Oh, yes. She owned a startup. She went to Boston University. And I mean, like, she may have bartended as well, but I've heard from people who were a part of Justice Democrats and said that AOC lied, or they were told to lie for her in reference to her biography. So she wanted to say I'm a bartender because that sounds better. She was never real.
Sounds really better.
Yeah, like she was never real and then you look at other things. You look at someone like Cori Bush, who, she's been homeless before. She had cancer before at one point in time. So she's gone through a lot. But even Cori Bush had a family member. Her father was also a politician. And so these are some of the things that I felt like Justice Democrats like really did, particularly younger people who were really excited about this wave of candidates coming through. They really did them a disservice because they weren't 100% honest about who these individuals really were. Rashida Tlaib, also lawyer. Like, these weren't working class people. And if you look back at the list of the names of the people who really were working class, those people didn't get as much traction in the press or promotion by Justice Democrats. That's why you don't see them in there.
Right. Wow, you just opened my eyes to some stuff I didn't even know. And that's absolutely like you're basically fooling the people because we're all seeing you in this one lens, and then it's totally different. Like when I remember even talking to Tommy Nation about this because he goes on about how the squad sucks, and I'm like trying so hard sometimes to defend them, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, I'm totally fooled because I'm just like, look, they just got in. Maybe they got a long game. No, there is no long game. They're straight
No.
up with the club, and they look appealing, and they're young. It's like rebranding. The Democrats are basically rebranding to keep up the neoliberalism, basically, so they can keep the status quo, but it doesn't look like it, which makes a lot of sense. They have done this multiple times before. It's just that didn't work out with Hillary.
That's right. And I think someone like, Bernie Sanders, I think should be ashamed of himself for energizing and mobilizing hundreds and thousands of people in this country only to just walk away and forget about this so-called movement,
Right.
and leave the people stranded just so he could remain to be senator. And one of the things that never made sense to me, at his age, Bernie Sanders can easily just retire.
Right.
So why is he still there? Like why is he afraid to push back against the Democratic Party? And he's supposed to be the independent. So I think,
Right.
This is just such a sham. And I feel sorry for all the people who volunteered hours, phone banking for these candidates, knocking on doors. Nick from RBN actually quit his job to canvass for Bernie Sanders in South Carolina. There are a lot of sacrifices that people made.
Right.
To make sure that these individuals won so that they can fight for these issues. And they are very snobby now. They don't talk to us the way that they used to when they were running for office. They have an ego. They're really cocky now. And that's just speaking to their own constituents.
Right.
And so, it's kind of like once they got in, like they don't care anymore. They don't really care. And that's sad.
Yeah. But now let's talk about what we can do as a people, because we got a lot going on in this day and age, while these depressing Democrats are just sapping up all the progressive air that can actually come to fruition and stuff. But we have Teamsters. I'm a Teamster. I'm a Teamster. We got the Teamster unions fighting. We have working class people in the food industry now unionizing with Unite Here. I have organized a little bit with Unite Here in Connecticut. They do a lot of good work. I was a PSL member, and we did a coalition with them multiple times to help the Yale students, the Yale grad students, unionize, all kinds of things. Are you based? You're based in Chicago, right?
I'm in Boston area, Massachusetts.
Boston area. Okay. Are there any like strong worker movements that are happening there? Because I'm seeing it all over the country now, and I don't know if the Democrats are going to do anything about this because it's getting very, very big.
Yeah. So I know that with UPS, if this goes through by July 31st, I think is supposed to be the date where they decide. So if this goes through, like they'll be striking here as well, because we also have UPS employees here. Some of the other strikes that have happened here, Cisco, which is a huge company, actually, they work with a lot of restaurants. So for those of you, if you ever worked in the restaurant field or waited tables, a lot of your supplies probably came from Cisco. So they were on strike for quite a bit.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, because of their wages. The teachers union here, it's tricky because it's almost like it's illegal technically for them to go on strike, but they still have done it. So there were teachers in Woburn, Massachusetts that went on strike, different cities in Massachusetts that they decided to go on strike anyway, and they just paid the fine.
Right.
But
you're referring to the contract that's signed. For viewers, that my union does that as well too. That it's a part of the contract that we're not allowed to ever picket for any reason or strike for any reason.
Right. But they done it anyway, and part of it was due to the fact that there were back due wages that weren't paid for these teachers. So like after the pandemic happened, There were people that were supposed to get raises. Those raises never went through. So basically, it was like, I think it was with the Woburn one, like an entire year went past and these people weren't paid for the back wages. Same thing with Boston Public Schools had this issue as well. So now the governor basically has said that it's going to take time to go through all the paperwork to see who is owed what, when, and where. And for me, I'm just like, no, it only takes time if you make it take time. Like
Right.
that's something that should be priority, because if the
Right.
teachers just walk out, I mean,
Who are
there's
you going to
there's
replace?
exactly, there's no one to just come in and replace them. So I
Yeah.
think that that's a big one. It's been the teachers. But I think, for the most part, it's just, I think the American people across the board have had enough. And I think
Yeah.
the pandemic kind of showed them, listen, this company really does not care about us. The fact that people were still forced to come in dangerous situations, like with the Amazon issue
Yeah.
that Chris Smalls often talked about. I think that
What
it
about that?
woke a lot of people up that like they
Right.
really don't care about our health or anything like that. They just want us to be worker bees.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely showing. And I'm thinking like the only way that this could like somehow be like salvaged are like what FDR did, but it was exclusively for white people when he did it though. But we need some type of new deal if because this is going to keep continuing. I think that there's going to be a lot of wins that come out of this, and it's going to get to the point where the corporations are going to realize that their time of exploitation is done. And we need a true socialist democracy. If anything, we need something that keeps the working man to have power and within their jobs. We need them. We need to have this, because if we don't, you're going to see a lot more of this. I mean, I had the writer's strike, the writer's strike guy on about 3 weeks ago, and they were and I didn't even know that writers were being paid, how much they were being paid, and how they have to do all this free labor just to get the producers to even give them attention on the matter. And it's like, you have so much, you have to take care of your house, your kids, cars, everything. Like, how are they able to get by when all that is going on? It's just, everything is coming off. Like the whole bandage is just like removing itself. And I love it because I love seeing working class power. So I want them to all get what they need.
No, you're right. I totally hear you. I think the writer's strike, I think, is a big wake up call to people too, because there seems to be this assumption that if you work in Hollywood, then you're rich. And
Right.
that's not true, right? It was about a year ago, the production crew members were threatening to go on strike. And these people work long hours, sometimes till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then just enough time to drive back home, take a quick nap, and then come back to the studio again. You cannot do anything without the production crew. And these are the
Yeah.
people whose names are at the end of the credits. If you're watching a movie, their
Right.
names don't stand out to you, but the dolly grip and the makeup artists, the costume designers, like these people are incredibly important, and they're not paid as much as people would think either. So again, even when it comes to the movie industry, which makes millions and millions of dollars, there's exploitation with the workers. You have actors who are making like $20 million a movie, but everybody else that's involved in that production of the movie isn't making anywhere near to that amount. So I
Right.
think it's crazy considering it's California, it's Los Angeles. The cost of living report that came out this year said you need to make at least $42 an hour to afford a 2-bedroom rental in in California. That's for all of California. So I think that if you have
Jesus.
people, working, particularly in Los Angeles, and they're making like 18, 19, $20 an hour, that's nothing. So,
Yeah.
and now you have the hotel workers on strike in
Yep.
LA too. And it's
Yep.
just, this is not the American dream. Like, you shouldn't have to live 2 hours away from your job just
Right.
because everywhere else close by is expensive, because gentrification spreads. So the more people start to relocate to a particular area, that area is also going to become expensive. This is what happened in Nashville, Tennessee. So in Nashville, Tennessee, over time, started to become the fastest growing city in the East. I have a friend that lives down there, and there was a big difference when I went there the first time. It was like 10 years ago, 10 or 11 years ago. Very big difference between the population versus when I went back there a couple years ago for her wedding. It is super crowded in Nashville now. It's a lot of people relocated there. And now Nashville has become expensive for the average person that lives in Tennessee. So I think that's the thing. Like, relocation is not the answer. Telling people to move to Raleigh, North Carolina, or to move to, Jacksonville, Florida, or Atlanta, Georgia, like telling people to move to those places, that's not the solution. Those places too will also become expensive.
Like Tupac said, there's the poor is going to swallow the rich. I think that's a paraphrase. I didn't say it right. Like, this is exactly what we're going to see. I have one last question. I don't want to take more of your time. Let's talk about Biden's choice to send over cluster bombs to Ukraine. How progressive and amazing this president is to just send over things that could kill innocent people.
God.
Like, I gotta have your thoughts on this.
This is probably one of the most insane things Joe Biden has done during his presidency. So first and foremost, for those who are not aware, cluster bombs are considered a war crime. Okay, so this is not just some simple thing that people should just shrug off. And other people are speaking up about it. I saw Representative Barbara Lee is not happy about this, but to that, I just say, but you were totally fine with sending the billions of dollars to Ukraine and sending the weapons and things in them too, which is also killing innocent civilians as well. So miss me with all of that. But I think that this particular item, to send cluster bombs, that is obviously going to cause more casualties with people who are civilians. And it was actually Jen Psaki who said so herself, that is considered to be a war crime.
Oh, she said that?
Wow. Yeah, on video. So
broken clock.
I know, right? So I think that I don't know who's advising Joe Biden at this point in time, but I feel like somebody needs to stop him here. It's obvious too that Joe Biden is experiencing cognitive decline. He's not in his right frame of mind. And the fact that he's the one that has his finger on the button to make these types of decisions in reference to foreign policy, that is very scary. And I think people should be concerned. And I also think there should be some type of petition to get Joe Biden to resign, because he is not in the right state mentally to resume office. And you can tell by the decisions that he's making right now and the mistakes that he's making during these press conferences and everything as well, like calling people the wrong name, falling down. It's embarrassing at this point, and it makes the US look weak.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking about Elliot Abrams, just wow, like really. And he's always saying in his speeches, what people should notice this. He says, they told me I have to come here and talk about this. Who is they? Is it the damn Pentagon? Like, who's that guy that always walking with you? He's not. He's literally just saying and doing everything that they asked him to do. He's a yes man, like straight up yes man.
It's always a they, but they never tell you who they is supposed to be. Right. So it's really scary and concerning. And I feel like they're trying to escalate this conflict with Russia and Ukraine, which is not what we need to happen at all. So whoever wins in 2024, they're going to have a lot of mess to clean up.
A lot of mess. Yeah. Because this, the fact of them getting cluster bombs just telling me is that Ukraine, the Kiev regime, is losing very, very bad. This is something that is a last resort, and they are losing hope. So of course they're going to do as much war crimes they can before the last hoo-ha, and maybe this will go on for like how Afghanistan went on. Do you think it'll be as long as Afghanistan, or do you think, because if that happens, it might end up being like what happened with North and South Korea, just a whole standstill?
I feel like because there seems to be an increase in pushback in reference to this particular conflict. I feel like it probably won't last 20 years like Afghanistan did. People are more vocal now. Also, we have to think about social media. Social media is much more popular now than it was.
True.
So there's that as well. But again, like, the answer is to elect someone who's anti-war.
Yeah.
The answer is not to hope that Joe Biden does the right thing, right? I said this the same thing about the student loan debt. That's the answer, is not to depend on hoping Joe Biden can fix this and do the right thing. The answer is to elect someone who actually is consistent with those values and has practiced that for pretty much most of their career.
Yeah, that's definitely well said, and I think that's the best way to end this, because that's what people should worry about: being anti-war and being peaceful. And peace is such a dirty word nowadays. So we need to undirty that word and clean it up and make it acceptable, because that's the only way we can survive as human race. Sabby Sabs, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Where can people see your work? The Revolutionary Blackout Network. I don't know why I have a hard time saying that, but there's a Twitter. You can send me some links and I'll just put it in the detail. But is there any platforms you want to shout out on to get for the best work?
Yeah. So for Revolutionary Blackout Network, you can find us on Twitter at Rev Black Network. And you can also find us on YouTube at Revolutionary Blackout Network, and the same thing with Rumble and Rockfin under the same name. We also have a Substack too. So the Substack, if you sign up for the Substack, you'll get notifications every time we go live. And you can find me on my channel at Sabby Sabs.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And have a really, really good day.
Thank you.
And for everybody, like, share, subscribe. The goal for Instagram is 2,000 followers, and the goal for TikTok is 500 followers. Definitely be a part of the conversation, and I'll see you all later. Have a really good day.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just